is sponsored by Eitan and Lauren Lipstein in memory of Yehuda Shlomo ben Chaim Dov. The neshama should have an aliyah. The limud should be a schus for his neshama. So we got up to the Gemara on Daf Yud Aleph and Aleph. We're covering ground, Baruch Hashem. So the Gemara says we were in the middle of the sugyas of Ibra Hashana, of dealing with the Zmane Hashana, of controlling the leap year, and the Gemara now gets into more of the details. That's what the Gemara is going to get into. These are the sugyas of the where and the what's, of how the and all the complexities of Ibra Hashana, what goes into it and what is considered. So the Gemara goes on. The Gemara says, the end of the line, 3 words from the end, Taner Rabbanon. It's about 13 from the Zion of the Masoras Hashas. No, 10 lines up. 10 lines up. The end of the line, Yud Aleph Amid Aleph. Taner Rabbanon. Ein ma'abernes Hashana elim kein haisa tzricha mipnei adrachin u'mipnei agshamim. I'm sorry. U'mipnei agsharim, right? U'mipnei tanurei psachim. U'mipnei golius Yisrael shenekrum imkoman. V'adayin lo higiu. So the Gemara says different necessities and different cases that Chazal would take, that the Bezdin would take into account to be ma'aberes Hashana. Meaning what? The drachim were messed up, the pathways to get up to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim. The ksharim, the bridges, are eroding. The tanurei psachim, the ovens from the weather started chipping away, and they're not going to be able to heat up the Pesach. Or because Chas v'Shalom, Klal Yisrael went into Golus, and they're no longer living in their homes, and it's going to be too difficult to make it in time for Aliyah L'Regel, V'adayin Lo Higio. So the Gemara says, so those are all situations that Bezdin would actually be Ma'aberes Hashana. However, Avalo Mipnei Hashelek. Just because you have a year like we had a few years ago, just because you have tremendous snowstorms and it's difficult to walk, buy a snowmobile. Get some skis. You have to schlep up when it comes to the snow. And not because it's so cold, it's frigid outside. That is not an excuse that Bezdin would now be ma'aberes Hashana. And not because Klal Yisrael suffered and went into exile, but there's a way you can get into exile, but they weren't really eradicated from their old hometowns and their houses. It's just that they suffered tremendous. They were conquered, and it was a bitter matzav, but they're still in the same area. Couldn't have timed it better. Beautiful. So Jerome asks such a earth-shattering question that the Gemara is sounded like this is the cheshbon. We don't take the thermometer out. We don't check the temperature. We feel bad if you had a big year. That you had to shovel a lot and your back's hurting probably from all that. But that's not going to be a consideration. But we're going to check the highways. We're going to check the pavements. We're going to check, and then we'll do Ibra Hashana. So Jerome says that's not true. That's not the classic Ibra Hashana. And to make Jerome's question even stronger, let's flip the page and let's jump ahead. Let's cover some more ground. The Gemara on Daf Yud Aleph from a base. Literally, 20, 25 lines later, you just flip the page. In the middle of the daf, by the 2 dots. Yud Aleph from a base. Taner Rabbanon, a brisa. You want to learn Ibra Hashana? Al shloisha dvarim ma'abrim es Hashana. On 3 things, for 3 reasons, we make an a leap year. We add a month to the year. Ala aviv, v'al peres ha'ilon, v'al ha'tkufa. That's basically what Jerome was just saying. It's a brisa. Ala Aviv, Rashi says, you need Shmoras Chodesh Aviv. You need to make sure that Pesach falls out in the right season. Some Rishonim say it means you have to make sure that there's Omer, that there's the crop that you're going to bring. That's a Rashi we're going to learn later. That Bishla HaTvua, that there was enough of the seasons that now the wheat was now ripened. Val Perisayilon, that's another reason. So you have Bikurim, fruits for Shavuos. Tkufa, or if just you have to line up the solar calendar with the lunar calendar. The Tkufa is what follows the solar calendar. There's the Tkufas Tishrei and the Tkufas Nisan, and you have to make sure that the Yamim Tovim fall out in the right Tkufa, and you have to align the solar calendar with the lunar calendar. And Rashi says there are psukim about this. Rashi Diramaschal ala Aviv. Im lo bishla tvua ma'abrim, if the wheat the crops did not ripen ma'abrin, so we add an extra month. Why? The Kruksiv. The pasuk says b'chodesh aviv. It has to be b'chodesh aviv, right? And the tkufa also. The Rashi gives the nafkala mikro lekamon bein al tkufas tevish shnim chazmana. They're psukim for all these halachas. Fine, that's the end of the brisa. So number one, Jerome's saying, isn't that the main reason? Isn't that the main source of Abaris Hashanah based on the solar calendar and the lunar calendar? Number two, it's a Gemara. The Gemara, as if the Gemara is just saying, by the way, you want to know why Ibra Hashanah exists? When do they take into account Ibra Hashanah? For three reasons. What? Peres Elon, Tkufa, to align the solar and lunar calendar, and what? Aviv, whatever Aviv is. We'll learn that later. Tvua, whatever it is. But how do these two brises jive?
Because I think this is the first Tnai, then you have to go.
This is the first Tnai. Let me read you the Gemara again. Tanu Rabbanon. Ein me'abron es Hashanah. I'm sorry, I read the wrong Tanu Rabbanon. Tanu Rabbanon. Ein me'abron es Hashanah. You ready, Adi? Translate this for me from Hebrew. Elim kein hoisa tzricha. Maze elim kein. I'm being very rigid over here. You have a necessity, and only with this necessity. It's not true. It's not true. And Adarabba, if I tell you another brisa, the brisa says, you want to talk Ibra Hashanah? I'm not even going to say what's a necessity. Al shloisha dvarim ma'abrim es Hashanah. Three things. These things don't jive. The brises don't read straight. The brises are problematic. Yeah, Abe.
Yeah, this one's not talking about when there's a gullus. It's talking there's monobias, no? There's monobias. Because the Gemara on Yud Aleph is talking you're a Nekrum and Kalman, so it could be there's Ibra Hashanah when there's no base.
So now I have a question for you. What you're touching on is going to be probably a shear on its own. But if we're taking into account going back to Eretz Yisrael, and we're taking into account Tanurei HaPesach, wouldn't you think that that's Bizman HaBayis? It might be that there's a golus. It might be that we dealt with a difficult year and we were persecuted, but there's something that we're coming back for. So I would think that the pashtus in the Gemara is still Aliyah L'Rega. Unless you're telling me a chiddush, that you want to be mechadish, which the Maratz Chiyas in Maseches Nedarim wants to be mechadish, and that there's Aliyah L'Regel even Bizman Hazeh. That's a big chiddush coming from this brisa. Could be. We're going to have to remain seen. But if you would want to say your pshat, that's something that you would have to say that I'm being mechadish, that there's a mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel now.
As long as it was possible, even after Churban HaBayis, it was Aliyah L'Regel.
Not that's a chiddush in the Maratz Chiyas. The Gemara never says that. There's a Gemara Nedarim that's mashma that, but kimat most of the poskim think that there's no mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel Bizman Hazeh. There's an Inyan, there's something, but it's but to say mamish there's Aliyah L'Regel without a Beis Hamikdash is a big question. Yeah, Eitan? No. So this is a question. This is something that we're going to have to work on to try to resolve. But just to open up the sugya dealing with these two brises, so the question really gets further and digs a little deeper. Bishlama, the Gemara and Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, Rashi has psukim that the Torah tells us Shmor es Chodesh Aviv, or it has different psukim to tell us about the Tvu, about the solar calendar. Fine, so that's how I understand Ibr working. Ibra Hashana works because the Rebbeinu Shalom said that the calendar can't exist if the solar and lunar calendar are not going to align, or if you're not going to have what's needed for the Chadashim, what's needed for the Yamim Tovim, you're going to need Chodesh Aviv. So that's already built into the system of the Torah, is a concept of Ibra Hashana. Suddenly, there's a bad highway, there's a ditch in the road. This year. So Beis Din now decide, we're going to be Ma'aber Hashana. How did that happen? Rabbi Isai, how does Beis Din have the right now to be Ma'aber Hashana? And if you think that that's not such a big question, Beis Din has a right. What's the problem? Beis Din can do whatever they want. Beis Din can kill someone. Rabbi Isai, if you don't have what Rashi presents to you on the Amud Beis of Al Shloisha Dvarim Hashana Ma'aberes, if that's not built into the system, then you're going to have a serious problem. Because what does Ibra Hashana tell us? Ibra Hashana tells us we're going to delay. We're going to have 2 Adars. Memela, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be eating chametz on Pesach. And according to the Rebbeinu Shalom's calendar, and according to what's supposed to be happening biblically, so then what should be? You're not allowed to do that. So there better be a very good reason why they're being Ma'aber Hashana, and not only a very good reason. They better have the right to be Ma'aber Hashana, and I better find a mucker for them to be Ma'aber Hashana. So if you're talking about solar seasons and things that deal with the Aviv, that Rashi says Psukim for, Al Shloisha Dvarim Hashana Muberes, that's something I could live with. That the Rebbeinu Shalom built in his yearly system, that there are going to be times that Beis Din now have to just follow the seasons, follow the agriculture, and therefore push off a month. Good. That's not going to violate any Yisurim. But Rabbi Isai, just because of a crack in a road, just because of a tzairech, what's going on over here? How do they have the heter over here? So comes along the Yad Ramah, and the Yad Ramah is backed into the wall, and he, as well as other Rishonim, the Yad Ramah says there must be a halacha l'Moshe Sinai telling us that there are certain reasons that work for Ibris Hashana. So when you are talking about this Brisa on Amud Aleph, don't think that these are arbitrary reasons. These are dinim min HaTorah said to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai that these were the reasons that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told you, you have a heter min HaTorah to now be Ma'aretz Hashana. And now the chilukim in the Brisa is unbelievable. There's a distinction between sheleg, between a snowy year, and between a crack in the road on a level of the Araisa Zok, the Yad Ramah. Where does Taisus address that issue? Which Taisus are you in? Taisus addresses the 2 Brises issues.
Right, but also he disagrees with Rashi. If I remember.
Yeah, but we're not up to that Taisus yet. We're going to get up to that Taisus. Taisus is not addressing what the heter. Taisus is addressing why there's a split up between Brises. And Taisus addresses a 3rd Brisa that we didn't even get to. So when we get up to there, but Taisus is going to be very relevant. Yeah.
I'm not concerned about what you just.
Why?
Because Chodesh Hazeh Lo.
Oh, beautiful. That's exactly where I wanted you to go. Excellent. So Leo says, Yad Ramah, I don't need any halacha l'Moshe Sinai. I don't need any chidushim. And there are other Rishonim that don't even say halacha l'Moshe Sinai. They have drashas to teach us these dinim. Says Leo, very simple answer. HaChodesh Hazeh Lochem. I'm going to tell you what Leo means. He says, the Torah says, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah tells us beferish, and this is the Gemara we spoke about last week with Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel, that they had a debate when should be the right day, and Rabbi Yeshua vehemently disagreed with Rabbi Gamliel, and we made him listen to Rabbi Gamliel, and we explained last week that the real upshot of that Gemara is because Rabbi Gamliel at that time was the Nasi, and he was forced to listen to the Nasi based on the Gemara that we learned last week and the Rishonim that we explained. But they told Rabbi Yeshua, and don't worry, even if his calculation is wrong, what's the halacha? It's lachem. Atem afilu shogegin. Atem afilu mezidin. Atem afilu mutem. Whatever Beis Din says in the world of Zman, in the world of Rosh Chodesh, in the world of Moyadim, says Leo very correctly, that is Chal. So therefore Leo says, very simple, and it's not only Leo. Look at the Chidush Yaran on our Gemara. He disagrees with the Yad Ramah. Says the Chidush Aran in the Chidush Aran, the top source. It starts at the bottom. Adi squeezed it in, Baruch Hashem. Ein Ma'abernes Hashana, it starts at the bottom of the first of the three columns. Advarim shebeshvilam atzricha Torah lasos Ibrahim shloisha. There are three reasons that the Rebbeinu Shalom required Ibras Hashana. And which ones are? Vehem mipnei atkufa shekachas lukos yeh betkufas Tishrei v'im nibshku tufas Tammuz ad tezayin yom lechodesh Tishrei ma'abernes Hashana shneimar chaga asif tkufas Hashana. One is the seasons. Umipnei ha'aviv shenikadesh chodesh Nisan bizman she'atvua ischil is bashel. We have to make sure that Pesach is in the right time. The aviv. Umipnei peres ha'ilon for Shavuos, that we have to make sure we have fruits. Those are the three reasons that the Torah says you're ma'aberes Hashana, exactly like Jerome started off with. Aval, elu dvarim she'amru kan, says the Ran. So ask Jerome, ask the Ran, so what's with our brisa? Mipnei agsharim, mipnei adrachim, for the bridges and the pathways. Ein inyanin shemistaklim bahen bezdin, she'ein simonim kvuim. This is not always kavua. Ella b'derech mikrahin ba'im lefamim. Sometimes you have a crack in the road. Sometimes you have highways that collapse. V'atam b'zev she'afal pi she'asimonim she'aiber tolim be'em hem yaduin afal pichin masru ha'kosav lebezdin kididarish masar lahem kiddush hachodesh kedamrina b'rosh Hashanah atem afilu shayim atem afilu mizinim atem afilu mutim ein lumoides ella elu upamim shashana tzricha lisaber b'pnei asiman m'shamarnu v'yisrishus la'achar ha'ibor ad hashana acheres kedamrina l'kamon ein ma'abnes hashana b'shnei marav. So says the Ran. It's very simple. You're right, there's no makar min ha-Torah. There's no halach l'Moshe b'Sinai. There's no pasuk. But what? When it comes to Kiddush HaChodesh, when it comes to the union of Kiddush HaChodesh, the Rebbeinu Shalom gave the regulation within the hands of Bezdin, even if it's not warranted. So it's basically what they want. I'll close my books. It's all dependent on you. Very good. So now my question is, what's with the Yad Ramah? Why did the Yad Ramah think that you need halach l'Moshe b'Sinai? Why did some Rishonim think that you need a drasha to learn out the tzrachim of this for these halachos of the ksharim and the drachim? But according to what he's saying, what the Ran and Leo is saying, now you understand why they're two different brises. Now you understand why they're two different brises. And also to add on, the Rabbeinu Yoiner has a beautiful diuk. What I was giving Adi a hard time about, if you look at the lashon of the brisa, ein menes hashrana elam kein haisa tzricha b'fnei hadrachim. In the situation of tzarachim, these are the tzarachim. If you want, says the Rabbeinu Yonah, to be ma'aber because of a tzarech, these are the tzarachim that you are going to be ma'aber for. That's this brisa. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, but when you flip the page and you learn Ibras Hashana from the other brisa, that's not an option. That's a chiyuv. You are obligated. That's built into the system. We got a line. We got to make sure there's Peres HaIlon over here. There's Chodesh HaAviv. We got to make sure that the tkufas line up. This is not optional. This is no deliberation in the Bezdin about this. You better be ma'aber. Oh, if you want to be ma'aber b'pnei hatzorech, you want to discuss the necessities, what's happening with Klal Yisrael, the roads, these are the tzarachim that you should discuss. So that now fits within the idea similar to the Ran's idea. But basically, these tzarachim are all made up by the rabbis. Yeah, Ita.
Why Shelag not, like, why is that not acceptable?
Oh, beautiful kasha. So Ita asks, if it's just tzarachim, and really we're relying on the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah by Kiddush HaChodesh that says atem afilu shoyim, atem afilu mu'utim, it's excellent. We're getting there. But all the Ran says is the pasuk of Kiddush HaChodesh. That's atem. That's the only. There is no.
That's the Chodesh Atem is by.
Oh no, not. Yeah, it's a Tikkun Osam. But it's all Kiddush HaChodesh. It's all the Moados that are based on Kiddush HaChodesh. But there is no Gemara that talks about Ibra Shana. The Ran just made up a Gemara. He made up his own Gemara. Why? Because of this. Because he was bothered by our questions. But if so, Itai's asking a question. I understand. One of the things that are included in that Gemara Rosh Hashanah by Kiddush HaChodesh and by the Moedos is Afilu Mutim. So Sheleg is worse than that. You're right. You had a snow year. Come on, put some skin in the game. Stop being lazy and get up to Yerushalayim, even though there's snow. Why? Let the Bezdin side with me, even if they're mistaken. What's going on over here? So Itai's saying, so maybe it doesn't apply because then we shouldn't have any limitations on our idea. And I'll ask a further kasha to make Itai's question even stronger. Gemara on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis has a fascinating story. We're not going to be able to go through the story fully. Chizkiah messed up. Chizkiah tried to be Ma'aberes Hashana, and he, because of all of Klal Yisrael were Tameh at that time, and he was Ma'aber the wrong time. The Gemara says, the less, the halacha is that you're only allowed to be ma'aber adar. Chizkiah was ma'aber Hashana even once Nisan started. Once Nisan starts, you're not allowed to be ma'aber. Chizkiah didn't realize that, and Chizkiah was ma'aber, and Chizkiah was mevakesh slicha, the Gemara says, because he was ma'aber the wrong day. So I'm asking on Chizkiah, if the halacha is atem afilu shogim, if the halacha is atem afilu mutim, so what does he mevakesh slicha on himself? So l'chora, you see again another raya. Number one, the fact that not all tzarachim are taken into account, that sheleg is not listed, and all these other reasons are not listed, and are not included in the tzarachim. Number two, who cares what Chizkiah did if he did it the wrong thing? There's no rules and regulations. You could do whatever you want, Chizkiah. So why are you asking slicha on yourself? And this is oh, beautiful. So oh, excellent. So this is Taisa's kasha. What? Meaning it's a limit. It's a limitation. Oh. So listen. So this is Taisus and Rosh Hashanah's kasha. Taisus and Rosh Hashanah asked my kasha. Taisus and Rosh Hashanah is talking about a fascinating Gemara. The Gemara says Levi walked from Eretz Yisrael, or a town near Bavel, closer to Eretz Yisrael, into Bavel on the 11th day of Tishrei. And Levi saw them eating. And Levi said, "You meshutnas, it's Yom Kippur." And the Gemara and they said, "What are you talking about? It's the 11th of Tishrei. It's not the 10th of Tishrei." He says, "You didn't hear? We were ma'aber the Shana. We were ma'aber the Chodesh. Ma'aber the Chodesh." So Taisus says, "Yeah, but it was chal, and it didn't." Taisus first gets into tchum issues. How was he able to walk there? Must have been close by. Taisus is dealing with that at the top of the daf, and then Taisus says, "Well, one second. Why was it even chal?" So this Taisus, the big machlokes rishonim, this Taisus has a big chiddush. This din of atem afilu shoygin, atem afilu mezidim. Bavel made a mistake. Bavel did not get the memo, and Taisus holds it was still chal, and Yom Kippur for Bavel was the 10th of Tishrei that year, which clearly assumes this is a big Tosos in Shas. Tosos is on his own on this one. Tosos assumes that the din of atem afilu shogim, atem afilu mezidim could be differentiated between each town. Means we can have a Yom Kippur in Fairlawn that's different than a Yom Kippur in Oklahoma. That could be different because they didn't get the memo and they kept Yom Kippur on the 10th day. Zak Toisus, the halacha of atem afilu shogim, atem afilu mutim applies. So now Toisus, it's not relevant for us, the whole Toisus, but if you skip to the bottom of the Toisus, right where the parentheses, the top Taisus in Rosh Hashanah Daf Chaf Aleph and Aleph, V'loi dami nami, right in the top of Yud Beis and Beis. He quotes our Gemara. V'loi dami nami la'ahu de perakama de Sanhedrin, shebike chizkiya rachmim al atzmo, d'chsiv ki yochlu atz ha-pesach below kakosov. The pasuk was darshaning that they were eating the Pesach in a wrong way. And the Gemara says, since what did he do? What was the whole story there? He was ma'aber Hashana on the 30th of Adar. The 30th of Adar, since it potentially could be Nisan, that is already too late to be ma'aber Hashana. Chizkiah said, no, it's Adar. I don't hold of this word of whole of a Roy Lekovo Nisan. Nisan didn't start yet. That was what the whole pilpul in the Gemara on Daf Yud Bezin. So ask Taisus, V'loyam, but why didn't the Gemara just say, Atem afilu shoygim, Atem afilu mezidim? So says Taisus something cryptic. Mishum deloy shayach ela kegon yom lamed o yom lamed aleph, kishakoven be'echad me'am rosh chodesh, lechasro, o la'abro, shelo kedin, o al pi eid sheker. Again, what did he say? Because the din of atem afilu shoygim, this halacha, that rabbis can't make mistakes when it comes to these halachos of chodesh, of kiddush hachodesh, says Tosos, it only applies to 30 or 31. Kishakovim be'echad me'am rosh chodesh, that Bezdin is deciding, are we going to make 30 rosh chodesh or are we going to make 31 rosh chodesh? L'chasro la'abro, shelo kedin, o al pi de sheker, that you could do it for whatever reason, even shelo kedin, even if you made a mistake, or if you got false testimony. That's the halacha, atem afilu shogim, atem afilu, but it's only, says Tosos, on 30 or 31 for Kiddush HaChodesh. That's all Tosos says. Now, what did Tosos mean? Comes... Why? What do you mean?
Again, you had a machlokas tanoim there as to whether or not.
About which day?
Conditions you had to.
No. That we. No. That was just whether there's still a mitzvah for Bezdin to announce whether or not there's Rosh Chodesh. That's not whether or not that we never discussed until today the din of atim afilu shogim, atim afilu mezidim.
No, because I thought that only had to do with an extra year, Rosh Hashanah.
Right. So now the question is, what does Taisus means?
Tosos would say that basically it's not applying to Shana Muber.
Oh. So Adi reads Tosos very simply. That's what you were saying? Tosos is saying it only applies to 30 and 31, and it doesn't apply to Iber Hashanah. If you're reading Tosos correctly, Adi, so you have a Tosos in Rosh Hashanah that basically just said that our Chidushe Haran in our Gemara is wrong. Right? I think you might be right. Exactly. No, that's exactly. Tosos asks a kasha. What's the story with Chizkiah? Why do you say the din of atem afilu shogim atem afilu mezidim? So Tosos is very vague. Tosos doesn't. He's a lot of words. Tosos should have just said what Adi is saying. You don't say atem when it comes to Iber Hashanah. That's it. Zehu. And Tosos just said, played out every step. Lamed Aleph with Eid Sheker, this and that. You could have just said it very simply. And that's exactly the chiddush of the tzlach in Meseches Brachos on Daf Samach Gimel Amud Beis. Says the tzlach, don't compare Iber Hashanah to Kiddush HaChodesh. When it comes to Iber Hashanah, there is no din of Atem Afilu Shoygin, Atem Afilu Mezidin. But Rabbi Isai, I'm ruining for you the tzlach. The tzlach has such a beautiful drasha over here in the end of Brachos. Why is it Bechlal in the Gemara of Brachos? So I'm going to tell you why it's in the Gemara of Brachos. The Gemara in Brachos says the following. You have to do Iber Hashanah where? You have to do Kiddush HaChodesh, says Tosos, says the Gemara in Brachos, in Yerushalayim. How do you know? The Gemara in Brachos quotes a pasuk that we're very familiar with. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. From Tzion, from Yerushalayim is where Torah is Yotzei. That's the tzlach. It's a very strong statement to say Ki mitzion tetzei Torah. That's a little bit of insensitivity towards Fairlawn. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying over here. We're trying to learn some Torah. Oh, only in Yerushalayim Ki mitzion tetzei. That's the tzlach's kasser. V'yesh l'daktik. You see in the bold-faced print on top of the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. V'yesh l'daktik. V'atu dafka chishav chadashim v'ibra Hashanah nikra Torah. V'imanu mefarshim pasuk zeh b'dafka imkein kol ha-Torah lo yitzeitze ela mitzion. It first of all says that Tzlach is Chodesh and Zman and Ibra Hashanah. Is that the only thing that's called Torah? You're going to call it Kimitzion Teitzei Seira? And furthermore, since when does Yerushalayim get all the credit? We're trying to learn over here. Veraisi quotes different Mefarshim that try to say, yeah, really the Zman is all the Torah. And he skips, I'm going to cut time, the Dvar of Tmum to the end of the paragraph. Says the Tzlach, listen to what the Tzlach says, unbelievable Yisod. Says the Tzlach, when it comes to the rest of Kol HaTorah Kula, it's not shaykh to be kovei Torah and link it to an area. Torah is applicable everywhere, at all times, in all places. With one exception, he says, mitzvahs hatuluyos ba'aretz. But v'haTorah einu mishtanis, the Torah never changes. Ha'oser v'hamuter, ha'tohor v'hatamei on the top of the small print, reish chav beis. Ha'chiyah v'hapoter, lo yishtane mimakom lamakom. It's not going to change from every place. Zulas ksas mitzvahs hatuluyos ba'aretz, with the exception of mitzvahs hatuluyos ba'aretz. If you're going to talk about a Zakim Mamre that's only in Yerushalayim, so you're going to call all of Torah that? Hatar ba'muter nishar mitarasu ba'taro afilum yora amora behefech va'oras amora urak lodia echud in Torah v'lachein lo shayach bo kvias makom milvad Zakim Mamre. There's specific reasons why the Zakim Mamre needs a specific place. You know, chayav al amrasa olim kein amora keneged yoshvei lishkas hagazis. So it says the Tzlach, it can't be. So therefore says the Tzlach, he says, he goes on to say, he says, Umasha amru, and that which the Gemara says, Sha'afilu amru al yaminu small. That Chazal tell us that even if rabbis tell you on right which is left and left which is right, Hainu shafilu niralecha, says the Tzlach, don't misunderstand the drush of Chazal. That means if you understand it to be, your perception is that the rabbi is mixing right and left and right, you should still keep and follow the rabbi. But it can't be, but if they actually made a mistake, the rabbis. There's halacha called paralam davar shel tzibur. There's halacha that Bezdin has the ability to make a mistake. Bezdin does make mistakes, and if they admit that they made a mistake, then they do something wrong. So don't tell me kimitzion teitzei seira is because of the halacha of al yamin shu small. Because if it's wrong, it's wrong. So don't tell me that the Bezdin Agadol is the only area that Torah is Yotze. Aval b'chidush chadashim, when it comes to the months, chidshu lanu ha-Torah, the Torah was mechadesh, atem afilu shoygegim, atem afilu mutim, atem afilu mezidim, b'zeh shayach lomer kimitzion teitzei seira. Zok the Tzlach poetry. He says, you know what Kimitzion Teitzei Seira is? It's exactly what the Gemara darshans over there. That you need Yerushalayim for what? For Kiddush Chadashim. Why is that called Kimitzion Teitzei Seira? Because that is an area of halacha that is totally given and governed by Bezdin. Atem afilu shoygim, atem afilu mutim, atem afilu mezidim. Whatever the halacha is, even Yamin Shu Small, it's yours. Even if it's dead wrong, it's yours. It's Kimitzion Teitzei Seira. What makes it the Torah? Mitzion Teitzei Seira. A brand new Torah, a brand new halacha, a fabricated halacha, full of flaws. However, says the Tzlach, an unbelievable diak. That's for what? Kimitzion Teitzei Seira is what? Is the source for what? That in Yerushalayim you need the Bezdin to be Kovei Kiddush Chadash. Unbelievable. Look at the Gemara in Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Tana Rabbanan, by the Gimel of the Rambam. Ein ma'abras Hashana ela b'Yehuda. We need to find out about the location for Ibra Hashana. V'mebru begal mu'beres heid Chananya Yishono. Chananya Yishono took a further step and said, what? Imebru begal ein mu'beres. You go outside Yehuda, outside of Yehuda, you want to be ma'aber in the goal, it doesn't work. It's got to be in Yerushalayim, it's got to be in Yehuda. How do you know? Amr Rabbi Yehuda B'Reder Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, my time of the Chananya Yishono. What's the reason of Chananya Yishono? Rabbi Yisai, what would I answer if I were the Gemara right now without reading the next line? Kimitzion Teitzei Seira. We just said. Says the Gemara, Amr Kra l'shachnai sidrishu basa shoma kol drisha shata derish. Anything you want to be derish, lo yehel b'shachna shalmakum should only be in Yerushalayim, in the shechna shalmakum where there's extra ashras hashchina. Rabbi Yisai, this is not my kasha. Look to the bottom of the Tosfos on Yud Aleph on the base. 3 lines from the end. Frek Tosfos Akasha. V'koshek tas. Dibebrokis nafkalon midechsiv kimitio teitzei seira. V'hocha maisim l'shachna sidrshu. And guess what? Tosfos' pen ran out of ink. You know why Tosfos' pen ran out of ink? He didn't have an answer to this kasha. A bam kasha steer in the Gemaras. Zok the heilige tzlach. I have a teretz steer kasha. Ibra shona and kiddush hachodesh is not one halacha. They're 2 different avenues. And now I'm going to tell you a chiddush, says the tzlach. There's only one area of halacha that has a din of kimitzion teitzei seira, that you can fabricate and change the Torah. That's kiddush hachodesh. That's the din of atem afilu shoygim, atem afilu mezidin. Aye. If so, why do you need a second puzzle? Ibra Shana doesn't have the din of atem afilu shoygim. So Ibra Shana needs a new mocker. Can't have a phrase that sounds like you're making a new Torah, because that halacha doesn't apply to Ibris Hashana. So therefore you need a l'shachno sidrshu. So therefore the tzlach goes on and he explains, and that's exactly what Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah meant, says the tzlach. When Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah went on to say that what? That Chizkiah had to ask Mechila on himself and said all these words that we weren't sure. Lamed Aleph said exactly what Adi said. It means, very simply, could have said it more concise. It could have said, it applies to Kiddush HaChodesh, Rosh Chodesh. It doesn't apply, Lamed Aleph. It doesn't apply to Ibra Shana. This is the Shita of the Tzlach. But I don't have it in the copies because it ran out of ability to bother Adi, because there were too many sources over here. But Rabbi Yisai, we'll just say it outside. Maybe we'll have a chance to read it next week, but I want to go weiter because I want to cover ground. Rabbi Yisai, this Tzlach is debated in Mitzvah Dalid with the Minchas Chinuch. The Minchas Chinuch disagrees with this Tzlach. The Minchas Chinuch says he disagrees with him. And you ask the Minchas Chinuch asks Arkasha. Minchas Chinuch didn't have any money. Minchas Chinuch didn't even have any money to write his Minchas Chinuch. I remember my father told him, Minchas Chinuch, when you think about a Minchas Chinuch, when you go through a Minchas Chinuch, you see the godless of Minchas Chinuch, think about the fact that he didn't have any of these Sfarim. Now, Baruch Hashem, we have all these footnotes that can say now, oh, this idea of the Minchas Chinuch, this is exactly like a Tshuvas HaRadvaz here, and a Chidush Aran in Sanhedrin Yud Aleph. It's exactly what the footnote says over here. Rabbi Yisai, the Minchas Chinuch said on his own, he was going through the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. And he went through the Gemara in Sanhedrin. He was complying all the Gemaras. He says, Mipnei Aksharim, for the cracks in the road, for the bridges. How's this chal? There's psukim for Aviv, for Tkufa, for the Bryce on Amud Beis. But this, ask the Minchas Chinuch, in Lamdisha terms, Ein koyach l'chachamim lakar davar m'atayr b'kum ve'esei. They can't make chametz and say that it doesn't exist. That's a violation of the Torah. The rabbis don't have that Torah ability. Says the Minchas Chinuch, Ela mikushios, michaymer akushia. It has to be that what? Any tzorech works. And really, atem afilu shoygin works. And that's what grants them the ability on a level of deraisa. Says the Minchas Chinuch, you're going to ask me Itai's kasha. Why doesn't sheleg work? Why doesn't all these other things work? Says the Minchas Chinuch. The rabbis themselves says this is not going to be a good reason. In theory, Min HaTorah sheleg should have worked, because through the ruling principle that's granting Chazal the ability to now make Ibra Hashana, Atem Afilu Shoygin, doesn't matter what the reason is. But you know what? They stopped it. They stopped it. They limited it. They decided sheleg is a lazy reason. They had their reasons, and that's what Minchas Chinuch said. Built in, they weren't able to do it. Okay, so that's going to take care of this Gemara. But says the Minchas Chinuch, and I'm disagreeing with my chaver, with the tzlach, and I disagree, and I think that atem afilu shoygin applies even to Ibra Hashana. And he didn't have a Chidush Aran to back him up. Later on, when we got the Chidush Aran, we realized that this was already a machlokes rishonim, Rabbi Isai. Now when you read our brisa, and you say, what's the heter, what's the matir for all these tzarachim, for all these necessities, for bridges, for drachim, for all these made-up reasons that Congress just decides that year, oh, this is a good reason. Business is doing well. We want to delay things for a year. We don't want people to have to take a week off for Pesach vacation, and it's not going to be good. And Min HaTorah, that would work according to the Minchas Chinuch. How's that possible? So the Yad Ramah, in his explanation of this Gemara, without explaining, says, Halach l'Moshe Misinai. The Ran says no, Atam afilu shoygim, and they don't even address each other. Comes out, thousands of years later, we see it's a machlokes, the Minchas Chinuch, and the Tzlach. Hundreds of years later. Minchas Chinuch and the Tzlach. Hundreds of years later, the same exact machlokes. What's the machlokes? How to deal, whether or not Iber Hashon and Kiddush HaChodesh are on the same track. Is there one halacha dealing with all of Zman in halacha? Zman was granted to Bezdin, and that's the shita of the Minchas Chinuch, and that's the shita of the Chidushei Haran. But the Tzlach disagrees with the Minchas Chinuch, and the Tzlach has many rayas, and therefore he had to obviously pin himself on the Chidushim of the Yad Ramah over here. There has to be some other mucker, there's some other source that's going to grant you permission over here when it comes to Iber Hashana, because it doesn't follow exactly like Kiddush HaChodesh. So Rabbi say this machlokes rishonim on our Gemara is an unbelievable machlokes achronim, but now we have to register this throughout our limud as we go weiter. Now we have to learn every halacha, and we have to look at it from two wavelengths. Do you view all the halachas of Kiddush HaChodesh and Iber Hashana all connected? Or do you say that they're different, and therefore we're going to have to learn the Gemaras in light of this machlokes? The final question that I want to just address, which is what Itai asked, what Itai said beautifully, which is what the Minchas Chinuch says. I explained to you that the reason why the Gsharim and the Drachim is because they limited, the rabbi said this is not a good reason, but why did Chizkiah have to ask Mechila for himself? So he explains exactly what Itai said. And that's the pshat in Taisus and Rosh Hashanah. Says the Minchas Chinuch, the Taisus and Rosh Hashanah is not a raya to the Tzlach. We read the Taisus and Rosh Hashanah because we were duped by Adi. Adi said, what Taisus and Rosh Hashanah says, why does an Atam Afilu Shegim apply to the case of Chizkiah when he was Ma'aber on the 30th day, that it was Roy Lekovo Nisan? So Taisus says in the answer in Rosh Hashanah, he says, because it wasn't Lamed or Lamed Aleph, which the din of Atam applies to. So we summarized that answer and we said, oh, you know what that's saying? It's exactly what the Tzlach is saying, and the Tzlach brings this as a proof. That Atam Afilu Shogin only applies to Chodesh. It doesn't apply to Iber Hashana. Says the Minchas Chinuch, there's no Tosus that says that. That's not what Tosus meant. It's exactly what Itai said earlier. All Tosus was saying, it only applies on Lamed or Lamed Aleph when what? When you're still playing in the bowl game. When you're still going within the rules and regulations, within the framework of Kiddush HaChodesh or Iber Hashana. What would happen if a rabbi would now walk in and say, I'd like to be Mekadesh es HaChodesh Balayla? What? And we say, are you crazy? Ein Mekadesh es HaChodesh Balayla. It's a din. We learn Ein Mekadesh es HaChodesh Balayla. So I say back to him, Atem afilu shogim. Atem afilu mizin. I'm in control. I'm the one who's koveya. So the Minchas Chinuch says, is anyone going to grant him the ability to do that? Absolutely not. You have the ability to have it within the rules and regulation when you could be Kaveya the Chodesh in the Yom. If it's not a good reason, it's still Chal. So if you're already past the time frame, you already missed, it's not Lamed or Lamed Aleph like Taisus is saying. It's already past, it's already a day that could be Nisan. So that's why Chizkiah had to ask Mechila on himself. Not because we're learning Taisus that Atem doesn't apply to Iber Hashana. Atem does apply to Iber Hashana. As long as it's a Zman, that's Koveya, Iber Hashana. As long as it's a Zman, like Yom, that's Koveya, Kiddush HaChodesh. So it says the Minchas Chinuch, that Taisus that the Tzlach thought was a raya to him, I learned the Taisus a different pshat, and therefore we have this ongoing machlokes, this machlokes rishonim, this machlokes achronim, whether or not Iber Hashana, Kiddush HaChodesh is all the same wavelength, whether or not can rabbis make a mistake when it comes to the concept of Iber Hashana. Yeah. On Lamed, and the Gemara says it was wrong because it was Roy Lekovo Nisa.